What's up everyone, welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos you will learn how to use technical analysis to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies. You can see I have a new mic in here that I just got from my good friend Jason. Shout out to Jason for the new mic and improved quality of audio for these YouTube videos. So in this video we're going to be going through Bitcoin and let's start off here with Bitcoin on the monthly time frame. Monthly time frame is looking relatively good here in terms of price action. It's all really healthy considering we've had a very dramatic increase in price. It makes sense why we would have a bearish monthly candle at some point after 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 subsequent months in a row of just parabolic rise. So this blue line is the bottom of our March monthly candle here. And so if we break that monthly candle's low this month over the next day in 10 hours, that will give us confidence that this high has now been set, and we'll look to form a higher low somewhere above the ultimate low of, down here in September of about 9,800. If we close this candle without breaking this blue line, the blue line then shifts for the next month to the low of this candle, and we wait to see if that gets broken, signifying that this is a high. So the monthly resistance level we're running into is this pivot R3 level, and that's up here at about 63.3. If we look at the weekly time frame, the weekly time frame is kind of interesting here because I don't think the bulls and the bears can really agree on which direction the price should be going right now. You can see that we had this bull trend coming up here with our low, high, higher low, and then higher high. We continued this with another higher low, another higher high, another higher low, and then another higher high. And then we pushed down for a new lower low below this key low right here. This does not mean that we're in a bear trend though, because we haven't made the bear pattern that we always look for, and that's a high, low, lower high, and then lower low pattern. So if we form a high, low, and then weekly lower high, and then weekly lower low, now that confirms that this is indeed a weekly bear trend, and we'll look for that to carry us down to this light blue level, which is our previous weekly support level, down here at about 37,900 down to about 28,800. You can see I have this dark blue line here drawn with our text saying weekly hidden bullish divergence confirmed. So if we go above this dark blue line over the next 3 days and 10 hours, this will end up giving us a weekly hidden bullish divergence with the price making a higher low right here in comparison to this one, but the RSI making a clear lower low. And so the price is negating the RSI and saying we're still bullish here if we end up coming above this dark blue line over the next 3 days and 10 hours. You can see we have decreasing bear volume here on the weekly time frame. That is good for the bulls case to continue to go higher. Last weekly candle was still a pretty bearish candle though, with a short lower wick of people buying the dip. So I would be, I am a bit cautious up here to add to long positions. So I am waiting to see what Bitcoin will end up doing here in the coming days and weeks. It seems kind of choppy on lower term timeframes, and we'll look at that in a second. It is important to note that as we've been making these higher highs in price, as we've been rising, we have been seeing a decrease in strength with each subsequent rise. So it makes sense why we had this subsequent drawdown. We'll see if we end up starting to trend bearishly on the daily time frames. But if we look at the 2-day time frame, this is a trade that I talked about in the past several videos that I said I was going to be taking, and that I indeed took, and have already taken some profits on. So this gray level right here, if we zoom in, I'm just going to get rid of the RSI for right now. If we look at the price action here, we had a pretty significant drawdown. So when you see a pretty significant drawdown, what that tells you is when we subsequently rise in price, it's very likely that we're going to set a lower high in comparison to this one, versus draw all the way down from this high to the low of about 27%, and then subsequently, turn around and just go for a new higher high. For us to go to a new higher high, we would need to rise over 38% without forming a lower high and a higher low first. And so I was very confident, and I still am, that we're going to be setting a lower high off of this dark gray zone I've been talking about over the past few days. And you can see that I used my short position tool here on TradingView to calculate my stop loss percentage, or the percentage that my stop loss is away from my entry, my profit target potential, which is 28.75%, and my risk reward ratio, which is about 6.35, which is a really good risk reward ratio. Now you can see that this gray zone, the reason we know this is a resistance zone, or should act as a resistance zone, which it currently already is this bull trend that we had right here. So we had our low, high, higher low, and then higher high with 2 candle closes above this key high. So this black candle right here, this candle where people were selling their Bitcoin, should be support on the retest of it right here. But you can see that what happened was we pushed right through this zone and closed below it. So now that people see the people that were selling here, that were potentially trying to buy here, probably got stopped out of their positions down here. Now when the price rises back into this level, they're probably going to go short because they think, well, this trend is going to continue to go down. And so you can see that this is what I like to call a sniper entry, because this gray zone was absolutely perfect in predicting where the price would reject off of and potentially form that daily lower high. You can see that we barely touched that zone, and then subsequently have drew down a little over 5% already over the last day. So a good profitable trade already. I've taken some profits on this trade. I do think, though, in terms of the rise in price that we've seen, the bulls still have a good chance of forming a higher low on the daily time frame. I'm sorry, I can't get the measurement tool to work here. We've risen, 20% since the low here. So it's very likely that we will form a higher low somewhere above this low down here at 47K, and we'll then see if from there we can come up and form a higher high. That's what we're going to be looking for. So if we look at the daily time frame, you can see that we've already confirmed that our lower high has been set here with our drawdown today in price that broke the previous daily low. It's also coming off of this daily pivot level right here. You can see that that is holding as well. So it makes sense why we're drawing down in price. If we pull up the super guppy indicator, you can see that it's starting to flip. And this indicator is just a compilation of a bunch of different moving averages. So the moving averages are when they're green, are telling us that we're in a bull trend. Whoops. And so when we are green, like I said, we're in a bull trend. When we're red, we're in a bear trend. Right now, what it's telling us is we don't necessarily know what is happening with the price action because it's gray. So it's in the process of flipping these MAs to be bearish is what this could potentially end up being. But if the bulls can pull up rather quickly here and push for a new daily trend change to the bull side with a higher high after a higher low has been set over the next few days, then that gives us confidence that these moving averages and the super guppy indicator overall will flip back to green, and we can continue to trend higher, and that will help carry the momentum higher as well if we can flip those MAs back to being green. The daily Ichimoku cloud is looking like we potentially might be getting a bearish cross here soon. So the way that I like to play this is if we end up closing back inside of this cloud right here, there's a potential for what's called an edge-to-edge trade. So an edge-to-edge trade is where you're entering a either short or long on one edge of the cloud, targeting the other side of that cloud. So the edges of the Ichimoku cloud indicator, they give you a support or resistance level. So this edge of this cloud is going to be a very strong support level for price, or a relatively strong support level for price. And then the other side, is subsequently a very, it's support or resistance dependent on where the price is in relation to it. So if the price is above it, it's going to be support. If the price is inside of here and it's trying to push against it, it's going to be resistance. So we'll see what ends up happening here. If we do end up going back inside of this zone and closing inside of it, that will give us pretty good confidence for a push down to the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud, which is down here at roughly where my target is, right around 40 to 41K. So this blue level has been tested already once, twice, and now if we test it again a third time, it's weakening with each subsequent test. So that's something to be aware of as we're looking at this. And so that is where we'll start to look for potential short trades inside of that cloud. If we go to the lower term time frames, some hopium for the bulls. So some potential hope that we could end up shifting this trend back to the bulls' favor is the potential inverse head and shoulders pattern that we're seeing right here with our left shoulder, head, and then a potential right shoulder here. If we do end up getting that, the target for that will be you measure from the head, the ultimate low here, up to the neckline, which is roughly going to be, right about here, which is about $9,400. And so what that tells us is if we measure up from that neckline, up $9,400, that gives us a new all-time high of about $65,900. So if the bulls can pull up and form a higher low somewhere above this low here and then come up, that would be very good pattern to keep an eye on for the target of a new all-time high. I know a lot of people right now are pretty bearish on Bitcoin, and it makes a lot of sense given that we had this significant drawdown in price, and in the shorter terms time frame trend indicators are flipped to be bearish. We did have a subsequent pretty significant rise in price though, so the bulls case is not over just yet, and I would watch for the 2-day low of yesterday, well, not yesterday's, but the previous 2 days low at 53,310 to be taken out, most likely before we end up going up for a new high if we do end up doing that. Areas that I'm looking to buy, the only trade that I'm looking to make on Bitcoin is this trade that I already took. But if we look at the other time frames, like a lower term time frame, like let's start off with the 12-hour first. So the 12-hour right now, you can see we came up, we formed a lower high, a higher high in comparison to this one right here. Well, actually, if you consider this wick down here, we had a low, high, lower low. So right here we made a higher high. Now we're coming down. We need to form a higher low above this one, which is very likely to occur. But this yellow zone is our main resistance level. You can see we weren't able to close above that here, and we're slowly kind of dragging down from this zone. If we go down completely to the ultimate low of this zone, that will be down here at about 52,466. We do have the pivot, the hourly pivot down here to keep an eye on for potential support. If we can close above this yellow zone, 2 candles above this on the 12-hour time frame, that'll give us pretty good confidence that this level is going to hold as support. Let's look at something like the 6-hour time frame. So on the 6-hour time frame, we did in fact change the trend to bullish here with a low, high, higher low, and then higher high right here with multiple candle closes above this key high. We subsequently came down right here. We tested this support level, which I'll draw with a rectangle real quick. Whoops, no, we'll just do it like this. So if we use this purple rectangle as our zone to keep an eye on, what we had happen right here was we closed above it, came down, tested it right here, had a nice little bounce right here, and then subsequently have drew down into this a second time. So we'll see if we end up pushing through this and closing below it. If we do, this will end up being a resistance zone on the first test. If we can bounce off of it, that'd be relatively nice. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame and see what we're working with here. It's pretty much a lot of chop here. It's very difficult to decipher any sort of, trend or anything that's really happening here. This is what's happening right now is the bulls and the bears can't really come to an agreement on where the price should go, because the bulls want the price to continue to go higher, but the bears, are looking at the higher time frames and are saying on the monthly time frame we're ready to come down. So it's a lot of indecision happening right now, as we're seeing with the price action. Sorry about that. Had a big yawn there. So right now what I'm looking for, if I'm looking to make a bull entry, is for the trend on the 4-hour time frame to flip back to being in the bull's favor. So they're going to need to form that low, high, higher low, and then higher high subsequently. So right now you can see that we're potentially forming a bear pattern here with a high, low, lower high, and then a lower low here with, yeah, we've made a lower low. So if we close 2 candles below this low, that'll be a confirmed 4-hour bear trend, and then this white candle will end up being a resistance level. So that's something to keep an eye on. I think the bulls are going to try and make a case here going into the weekend for a potential daily higher low. So that's what we got for Bitcoin. If you like this video, give it a like down below and subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. Make sure to join our global Telegram channel, which there is a link for in the description below as well. And you can communicate and join several Lutheria community members from around the globe who talk about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology on a daily basis. Until next time, onward and upward.